Welcome into the series premiere of 3304 Kickoff. I'm Jake Lyman, my co-host today, Andy Losi, as we're getting ready to get you set for the Virginia Tech and North Carolina State matchup at Lane Stadium on Saturday. We'll be getting you ready for every Virginia Tech football matchup this season. Let's get into the Wolfpack and the Hokies. Andy, just like everything in 2020, this game has been affected by COVID-19.
Yeah, this game was originally scheduled to be both the team's season openers back on September 12th, but due to a COVID-19 outbreak down at NC State, had to suspend most of their athletic events. And for Virginia Tech, their last week's matchup against the University of Virginia was also suspended due to a COVID-19 outbreak in Blacksburg. So both teams have had to go through the challenges of COVID-19, Jake.
They definitely have, and the Hokies may have gotten it worse because of the timing. They may not have as many players as they were expecting on Saturday against the Wolfpack. Coach Fuente said they hope to play Saturday, but they won't have a full roster. That could be trouble for the Hokies.
Yeah, Coach Fuente is definitely going to have to struggle to get a game plan if he's not able to have some of his star players in to Saturday's matchup. So when you have that going for you, you don't know who you're going to field out there, and you don't know what system is going to work. And this is going to also be a struggle for the NC State coaching staff as well. You have to plan for pretty much anybody to get out there on the field on Saturday. So that's going to be a big key in this matchup of who's going to be able to go and who's not going to be able to go.
Well, it's definitely going to be different, but there will be football in Lane Stadium on Saturday night. The lunch pail defense won't be there as Bud Foster retired following last season, but one of his assistants will be on the other sideline for North Carolina State. Charlie Wiles making his homecoming return. Evan Hughes has more on that.
That's right, Jake. Certainly a homecoming this weekend as Charlie Wiles returns to Lane Stadium, a place that he had called home as the defensive line coach at Virginia Tech since 1996. Hokie fans were used to three people on the sidelines for over 2 decades. That was Frank Beamer, Bud Foster, and Charlie Wiles. And in 2020, it's the first time that none of those three are on the coaching staff. Wiles played at Murray State in the 80s, arrived at Virginia Tech right at the peak as they were climbing towards the top, coached the defensive line in the national championship game, and then in 2015, when Justin Fuente was hired, he retained Bud Foster as his defensive coordinator, and Charlie Wiles stayed on as the defensive line coach. But in December of 2019, Charlie Wiles and Virginia Tech parted ways. With Bud Foster going out, though, there was a memorable moment despite Coach Wiles not getting to coach in the Belk Bowl against Kentucky. Bud Foster gave Charlie Wiles one of the coveted lunch pails. The only other person that has a lunch pail is current Hokies defensive line coach Darryl Tapp. It was a moment that certainly meant a lot to Charlie Wiles. He told reporters this week it's a part of his memorabilia that he has at home right now. But here he is with North Carolina State, a new opportunity. He returns to Blacksburg this weekend to coach against the Hokies. He met with reporters earlier in the week, and one thing he did say, it would certainly be different if there were a lot of fans in the stands, and of course, if Bud Foster and Frank Beamer were coaching against him. A unique homecoming for sure for Charlie Wiles, but he returns to a place where he helped develop 13 NFL draft selection, 5 All-Americans. Certainly, the lunch pail defense has a lot to do with Bud Foster, but as well as Charlie Wiles. Jake?
That's right, Evan. Charlie Wiles, certainly a legend in Blacksburg for his time with the Hokies, and he's developed a pretty good defensive line down in Raleigh since arriving down there, and that starts with Aleem McNeil. The nose guard, named to Bruce Feldman's Freaks list over this offseason, stands at 6'2", 320 pounds. He's a monster in the middle of that defensive line, and he's going to be a tough matchup for Brock Hoffman, the transfer from Coastal Carolina. That's a matchup I'm looking forward to all day long. McNeil had 2 tackles for loss against Wake Forest last week, has 9 sacks in his career. He's going to be tough for this Hokies offensive line to stop, and that could have a big effect on the running game. Hokies have some pretty good backs, though.
Yeah, the Hokies featured 2 new backs this year, Jake, with Raheem Blackshear from Rutgers and Khalil Herbert from Kansas. Both transfers coming and can make an immediate impact for the Hokies. You look at Blackshear, he can do it both behind the quarterback and in the slot position. And Herbert, he's listed as the running back number 1 this week in the depth chart. He came from behind Puka Williams Jr., who was 2-time Big Ten running back of the year. So he has a lot of experience from Kansas under Les Miles, and you bring Raheem Blackshear, who's one of the electrifying players from Rutgers, and he could definitely do a lot to this offense. That's when we throw it out to Kevin DiDomenico, more on the quarterback situation.
Thanks, Andy. Well, Virginia Tech opens the 2020 season with one of the best quarterback rooms they've seen in years. They've got a 3-headed monster with Quincy Patterson, Hendon Hooker, and Braxton Burmeister. Now, the battle right now is between Burmeister and Hooker. Now, Coach Fuente did name Hooker the starter, but said Burmeister would play come week 1. Now, the case for Hen and Hooker, he's the team's guy. He's Fuente's guy. And since he came in week 5 last season, he's posted a 6-2 record, limited his turnovers, and has been excellent on offense. Meanwhile, Braxton Burmeister is a playmaker. Coach Fuente is quoted saying he's got some savvy out there. He's extremely athletic, he's poised in the moment, and is an accurate passer. Now, he's going to come out of the shadows a little bit here in this 2020 season because the media has not seen him as much. Nevertheless, we will have an electrifying quarterback under center here in this 2020 season. Guys?
Thank you, Kevin. Virginia Tech fans are surely excited about what their quarterback room can offer this year. Jake, let's look at some keys of the game, starting with the Virginia Tech offense.
Yeah, Andy, for the Hokies, no matter who's under center, whether it's Hooker or Burmeister, they have to get the tight ends involved. James Mitchell is an emerging star after Dalton Keene left for the NFL in this past offseason. He's going to be the #1 guy in that tight end room. But don't forget about Nick Gallo. The Hokies like to run those 2 tight end sets, and Gallo could get some serious targets on Saturday night. If the Hokies can involve those 2 against the Wolfpack, they've got a pretty good shot.
For NC State, they got to get Bailey Hockman more involved. Offensively, they struggle with the passing game, but they dominate with the rushing game, with Pearson Jr. and Zonovan Knight being just so close to 100 yards each. If they're going to get Hockman more involved and maybe expand on the passing game a bit, that can create a lot of difficulties for the Hokies. Defensively, though, they got to hold on to their significant leads. They had 2 14-point leads against the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. They blew them. Fortunate enough, they were able to win their game against Wake Forest, but still, when you have these kind of leads in college football against ACC matchups, you got to make sure you hold on to those leads and not blow them to their opponents.
Definitely, Andy. And for the defense on the Hokies side, I'm coming right back at your NC State offensive key. I think the Hokies have to make Bailey Hockman beat them. The running game for NC State was so potent last Saturday. If they can shut that down and make Bailey Hockman air it out, I like their chances against the Wolfpack. We thank you all for watching 3304 Kickoff as we previewed Virginia Tech and North Carolina State. Andy and I will have the coverage starting at 7:50, remotely of course, as the Hokies and the Wolfpack do battle. We hope to see all of you there.